Hello everyone, my name is Asyrafchazz and welcome back to yet another One Piece card game video, and it is time to talk about the green cards from OP-04, and we're just gonna jump into it. We did the red one. If you want to check it out, link will be in the description below as usual, but now we'll talk about green. Green has a lot of powerful cards. Doflamingo, the whole family is here. So let's go. Let's just jump in and talk about them, okay? Let's go. Alright, if you want to see the cards for yourself, link will be in the description below. It's on the Asia version of the One Piece card game website. Now we're starting with the leaders, and we've gone through the leaders in more in-depth detail in their own video. You can check it out. Link will be in the description below as well. But Doflamingo, end of your turn, set up to two of your Dawn cards as active. This will be a sleeper good leader for sure. I think the way that people will build this is going to be really good, and you always have event cards in your hand to kind of prevent attacks from going through. I think this is going to be a strong leader, and definitely one I'm excited to try out for sure. So Doflamingo, pretty cool. And then of course Esho. Now we talked about this. If you want to see what I feel about the OP-04 leaders in a general tier list, I actually did a video with Noah. Check it out right here. And essentially we talk about what we feel is the strongest leaders from OP-04, and both of us unanimously thought that this is the strongest one. Esho, Dawn 1, give all of your opponent's characters -1. That's pretty good. And then at the end of your turn, you may pay 1, set up to one of your characters with a cost of 5 or less as active. Also very good, very powerful card. I go into it in more in depth in those videos, so we're gonna move on and talk about the other cards. And I'm glad there's going to be a lot of Don Quixote pirate cards in here, starting with Viola. 3 cost 3000 power with counter 2000. On your opponent's attack, you may pay 2, rest up to one of your opponent's Dawn cards. This is interesting. This is actually really quite cool. It's similar to Apu from the starter deck. You can kind of, instead of like putting 2 Dawns, you can pay 2 when your opponent attacks. So this could be a great way to mess up opposing Doflamingo players, or also opposing like any blue-based, black-based leader that wants to use Dawns efficiently, especially against Yellow, because Yellow likes to play on curve. If you see a Viola if you see a Viola on your opponent's side of the field, they probably have to kind of play out their stuff first before attacking, so this can kind of mess up their flow. Also, it's a 2k counter, definitely a staple. So let's move on to Eric. I believe this is a filler character, right? So please let me know if I'm wrong in the comment section below. 1 cost 2000 power with counter 1000, part of the East Blue. Activate main, you may rest this character, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 1 or less. Could be playable, could be situational in the metagame that calls for it, but I don't think Zoro will be as prominent. This is like in before, it's a mistake that I said this, but I don't think Zoro will be as prominent in this current metagame because there's just other cards that people want to play with at first. But when it calls for it, you can play this card, but it's not that great. Next we got Ikuro, 6 cost 8000 power with counter 1000, East Blue Black Cat Pirates. It's a vanilla 6 cost 8000. You can actually use this alongside Django for additional attacks if I'm not wrong. So this could be cool. This could be a playable card in the Kuro decks for multiple attacks per turn. So there you go. Next we got Sugar. Now we've talked about Sugar in more in depth, but let's talk about it again. 2 cost 0 power of counter 1000. On your opponent's turn, when your opponent plays a character, if your leader has the Don Quixote Pirates type, rest up one of your opponent's characters, then rest this character. And on play, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. This is definitely a staple in green. I think this is going to be very annoying to play against for sure, because you play something, they rest Sugar, that card gets rested. Something with rush the opponent doesn't want to you to attack with, you can rest it. It's really quite good, and its on-playability is definitely playable because we've seen Izo being played as well. So this is definitely a staple for green decks moving forward. Next we got Geola, 4 cost 4000 power counter 1000. On your opponent's attack, you may pay 2, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. Actually, a good way to prevent your opponent from attacking. I think there are other cards with similar effects that we will see in later on. So this is, you could potentially like just play out something, leave a bunch of Dawn up, especially with Doflamingo, where you can unrest 2 of your Dawns at the end of your turn. Makes it so the opponent can either non-attack, because you have to like for example, the opponent has 2 characters with cost 4 or less. They attack with 1, you use the ability, you rest the other one, so only 1 attack goes through, and then you can counter off out of that initial attack as well. Geola could be playable, could definitely see this being played in the metagame. So let's move on to Senior Pink. Oh my god, look at the artwork. Such a chat, so hard-boiled. 3 cost, 5000 power. When attacking, you may pay 1 if your leader has Don Quixote Pirates type. Rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. Then set up to one of your Dawn cards as active at the end of this turn. I think this is really quite good. It's almost like an Okiku. You know, instead of putting 1 Dawn and then attacking and resting something. This is you pay 1 and then you get the Dawn back at the end of the turn anyway, so it's really quite good. I can definitely see this being played as a early, 3 Dawn, second turn play down Senior Pink, start messing up with your opponent's characters. This is a great card, so let's move on to Daddy Masterson. 4 cost, 5000 power, yet another filler character. Dawn 1, at the end of your turn, set this character as active. We've seen these cards before. We've seen, this kind of effect on the 7 costs used as kit. So I think this card can see play for sure because you can attack with it with 6k, 7k, depending on how many Dawns you want to put on Daddy Masterson. And then at the end of turn, it withstands itself. Your opponent cannot attack into it. They have to use an event card, or you can rest it before you can attack into it. So it's an annoying threat to deal with for sure. So this is Diamante, 5 cost, 6000 power with counter 1000 and has blocker. So Dawn 1, at the end of your turn, if you have 2 or more active Dawns, cards, set this character as active. So this works very well with Doflamingo. As long as you have a Dawn on Diamante, you can attack with Diamante, and it will restand itself as a blocker that you can use to block this. If you have like Daddy Masterson, you have Diamante, and then you have the 7 cost used as kit on your side of the field, those are attackers, and then it will restand itself, so it's hard to get rid of. It's gonna be a really annoying green wall to deal with. If you haven't picked up your 7 cost used as kit, this is a good time to pick it up before the prices spike because of these cards. Diamante, great, excellent card. I think this is going to be a staple in green decks for sure. Oh, at least Doflamingo decks. Next we have Dullinger, 3 cost, 4000 power with counter 1000. At the end of your turn, set up to one of your Dawn cards as active. I do think this is a very powerful ability because alongside, if you have multiple Dullingers on your side of the field, you can, restand 2 Dawns with Doflamingo, restand another couple of Dawns with Dullinger. Great card. I think, and you can attack with it as well. It has counter 1000, so I see a place for this card in the metagame depending on how many Dawns you want to restand at the end of your turn. This could be a really cool card to use. Next we have Treble, 6 cost, 6000 power, part of Don Quixote Pirates. On play, KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 5 or less. So immediately that effect, really quite powerful. And on your opponent's attack, pay 2, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. So Treble, alongside the cards that we saw earlier, you can have multiple Dawns up, and then you can prevent your opponents from attacking with characters with a cost of 4 or less, so it's really quite good. But Treble has the additional benefit of having a very powerful on-play effect. Just straight up KOing something that's rested, really quite good. And even if your opponent's characters are not rested, green has a lot of things that you can do to rest them, so this is just straight up very perfect. There you go. Next up is the big bad daddy himself, Mr. Don Quixote Doflamingo. 10 cost, 10,000 power, and on play up to a total of 3 of your opponent's rested leader and character cards will not be active in your opponent's next refresh phase. This is an extremely powerful card. This is strong. This is very strong. Opponent plays something, Doflamingo can attack, can restand and become active, which buys you a turn. And this is one of those cards that if you have multiples of, if you play Doflamingo after Doflamingo, it is very difficult for your opponent to win that game. Great card, love it. Doflamingo for the win. It's a staple, so just play it if you want to play Doflamingo. It's so good. Then you have a Baby 5, 1 cost, 1000 power with counter 2000, so definitely playable. At the end of your turn, you may trash this character, set up to 2 of your Dawn cards as active. This is one of the most slept on cards in the set. This is the sleeper hit of the set for sure, because yes, it's a counter 2k, but if you need to, you want to go for like the finishing turn, and you just need a wall of defense against your opponent to prevent them from going through while you set up, because you can V-stand Dons with Dullinger, and then you can have you can have Baby 5, and then you have Doflamingo's ability. You can stack up a lot of active Dons, and your opponent has to kind of be careful then. I believe this is one of the sleeper cards, and people will definitely make use of Baby 5 in gameplay for sure, and it's counter 2000, so it's really quite good. Next we got, oh man, Macvice? I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrongly. I don't know enough of this character. 4 cost, 5000 power with counter 1000. On play, if your leader has the Don-Quixote Pirates type, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less, then set up to one of your Dawn cards as active at the end of this turn. Also a really powerful card, very good stats, Dawn to stat ratio, and you can use it to rest something that's 5 or less, which we've seen be playable in previous meta games, and you get a Dawn back at the end of your turn. Very powerful card. I do think that this card will see play a decent amount of play. So let's move on to Lao G. My man. So Lao G is 4 cost, 5000 power with counter 1000. At the end of your turn, if you have 3 or more active Dawn cards, KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 3 or less. This is actually one of the payoff for having multiple cards become active at the end of your turn. This is actually quite good. It's gonna take a while to set up for sure, but if you do, oh man, it's really quite good. But it only affects rested characters with a cost of 3 or less, so very specific. But if the meta calls for it, Lao G is the perfect answer to a lot of things in the meta game right now, like Rush Zoro, multiple 1-cost attackers. Lao G is your answer to that, so that's really quite good. Alright, now we're going to the green event card, starting with Spiderweb, 2-cost event card with counter. Up to one of your leader or character gains plus 4000 power during this battle, then set up to one of your characters as active. So it's a little stronger version of, I believe, Paradise Waterfall, and trigger ability up to one of your leader gains plus 2000 power during this turn. This card is a very powerful. That trigger ability actually really will come into handy because it turns your leader into a Whitebeard-esque effect, making it from 5k to 7k. So it's I think this card will definitely be played as alongside Doflamingo. This is one of the new powerful green 2-cost event counters, plus 4k, set off your characters as active. Really quite good. Next is Don-Quixote family. This is your dedicated searcher, but counter, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to one Don-Quixote Pirates type card and add it to your hand, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order, and the trigger ability is activate this card's counter effect. It's a counter searcher, which is very interesting, but because Doflamingo will keep Dons up anyway, then that's fine. You can use this actually on your, like, if you're going second or if you're going first, either way. You can, if you don't have a turn 1 play, you can just leave this up. Your opponent attacks into you, you can just boom. Actually, this is kind of good even if you're going first or second. Maybe better if you're going, I don't know, we have to kind of take a look. But your opponent attacks into you, just counter, you get to search. So Doflamingo doesn't have a dedicated character searcher. Maybe they'll put it into the next set or something. So yeah, you may have to run a couple of these if you want to go into the Don-Quixote family archetype. This is a perfect card for you. Next, we got Flapping Thread, 2-cost event card counter. If your leader has Don-Quixote Pirates, up to one of your leader or characters gains plus 2000 power during this turn. The trigger ability is KO up to one of your opponent's rested character with a cost of 4 or less. I think this is an interesting card because it's during this turn. So like for the rest of the battle, you get plus 2k power. So I think there may be cases where people will value this a little bit more, but it's not as good as something like plus 4k straight up if your opponent's going for big attacks. So it depends. You can use this. You can include a certain number of copies of this, use it first, and then everything subsequently gets an additional like 2k counter because of the effect. So it could be good. I think there may be a place for this. So there you go. And next up we have the weak do not have the right to choose how they die. That's a really long name. A 5-cost event card, main / counter, rest up to one of your opponent's leader or character cards, then KO up to one of your opponent's rested characters with a cost of 6 or less. I think this is a very powerful card. Our trigger ability set up to 5 of your Dawn cards as active. I think this is a powerful card. It is 5 cost though, so very, very telling if your opponent's holding up 5 or more than 5 Dawns, that people can expect this. But if you use it and you can rest something, like it's straight up just rest, and then you can KO something, and you know, it's a 6 cost or less, so there are a lot of targets in that category. So this could be good, but the ask of it, like the cost, it's quite a lot for this card. So it may see some play, maybe situational. They can, you know, people can test this if they want, but there are more efficient amounts of counters. You can play it on main as well as a straight up removal, as long as it's 6 or less. So this could be, you could see it on a play as a counter, maybe not, but as a main, yeah, I can see it being played. And last but not least, green has the other secret rare, Don Quixote Rocinante, also known as the one and only Corazon. 8 cost, 8000 power, with the effect on your opponent's turn. If this character is rested, your active characters with a base cost of 5 cannot be KO'd by effects. On play, you may rest this character, play up to 1 green character card with a cost of 5 from your hand. This is a very, you know, unique card for sure. It means that you can protect a lot of your 5 cost characters, base cost of 5, from, like, you know, jet pistols or anything other than that. And the most important thing that it's so on flavor with this card is that it protects your Trafalgar Laws. Your Trafalgar Law blocker, your Trafalgar Law from the starter deck, it protects it. And you can bring it out with its ability, if it's on play ability. Play it, rest it, play a Trafalgar Law from your hand, and then use Trafalgar Law's ability to bounce something, play something. It's really quite good. I think there's a definite place in this in a law-based Don Quixote family type deck. Other than that, you know, it's decent enough to stand on its own, I think, because it does protect your other cards. It's not the most impactful secret rare out there, I gotta say, but it does get you free stuff. It does get you to play free green stuff from your hand, at least stuff with cost of 5. So this alongside Trafalgar Law, I think, is the best combo, but you can bring out stuff like Basil Hawkins for an additional attacker as well. But I really like that Corazon has the other secret rare slot. I love the artwork on this. Can't wait to see the alternate art. Hopefully it's the phase where he does that, like the when he says to Law that he loves him. Yeah, Corazon, great card. You can use it with Law, you can use it with the Doflamingo family, so that's good. But there you go, every single green card in OP-04. Next, we're going to talk about the blue cards, I believe. Yeah, the blue card. So look out for that. It's going to be in the next video. So thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.